I got to say, I've probably done 30 or 40 different cannabis conferences around the world, and this is a very subdued group so far. So you need to get some caffeine in you. Um, Hello and welcome and thank you. I'm Ryan Kiley. I'm the Director of Market Development for ePac Flexible Packaging. Um, so often, packaging comes in at the very tail end of whatever it is you happen to be manufacturing and distributing. And I tell you, it couldn't be more important to plan early, incorporate technology, and stand out. Right? As we have learned in the U.S., the competition comes quickly. And if you're in a vertically organized state, then okay, maybe you have a monopoly in a particular distribution venue, but oftentimes you don't. So the simple things of standing out from the crowd, differentiating your product, extolling the virtues of quality and reliability becomes incredibly important. And so I'm joined by my friend Mark from Pure Holdings. Um my favorite part of doing speeches is not doing speeches. So I'm going to let one of our customers do a majority of the talking as we spend some time here together today. And of course, we'll have the roundtable afterwards where we can all get together and really talk about packaging.
So, hello everybody. Also, welcome from my side. Also, thanks for Ryan and for APEC for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak to you guys. And let me introduce what we're doing with the cannabis plant and how we see the world of cannabis. Let's jump right in. My name is Mark Brunker. I'm usually coming from the food side. I'm a food chemist. I'm a food engineer. I still love to smoke. I love to eat, and I could like synergize my two passions. Um, I founded a startup after my bachelor's where we focus on producing food that it's made out of the hemp seed. We did like protein powders, protein bars, whatever you can do with it. I did it for 3 years and then I got bored because I mean it's a superfood, but it doesn't really taste so good. So after 3 years, I got a bit bored of the taste. I did my master's degrees, and a bit more than a year now, I'm working for Pure Production. I'm the head of innovation and regulation there. What does that mean? Innovation, for example, producing new hash extract, producing new cannabis products. And in terms of regulation, I'm the main responsible for all the pilot projects in Switzerland, also called Modellregionen. It's coming up in Germany as well. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to promote the system that we're doing it in Switzerland.
And I'm still Ryan. I'm a software engineer. That's how I came up. I started my career at IBM writing microcode for the first cable modems that ever came out. Um, Eventually, I tripped over something and got into printing, and for really the entirety of my career, I have tried to bring technology to a traditional core product. So when I was lucky enough to join ePac, uh, we were really on the precipice of bringing connected packaging, or the notion of a unique digital identity, to every single package and pouch. And that has huge implications for the kinds of regulatory environments that you are and will continue to face in the cannabis industry. So I'm a software person. We'll be able to do everything from demonstrations to how-tos throughout our time here. And I look forward to meeting many of you while we're together. So, ePac itself is a packaging supplier. We make digital flexible packaging. We have 26 plants around the world. Australia, Indonesia, here in Europe, 16 plants in the US and Canada. We're founded on a couple of key principles that just about everybody in ePac can recite from heart. First of all, we're focused on the communities that we serve. So these smaller plants in local municipalities reduce the amount of time and energy that goes into the distribution of that packaging. So we're reducing our environmental impact by being close to the kinds of customers that we do business with. But we're technology focused. Born in 2016, we were invented with green in mind. So all of our technology stacks, everything from marketing to our CRM and ERP, All of that was purposefully built to create a repeatable business around the world. And by standing up Australia and Indonesia and Poland. By the way, this is Piotr. Piotr is director of operations for a Polish plant. It makes it quite easy for us to expand into new territory. Sometimes we have to point to the good things that happened as a result of COVID. A lot of people started their own business. A lot of people took their grandmother's recipes and went to market with a new endeavor. We don't just do cannabis packaging. We do popcorn and granola and ice cream. You name it. Anything we can put in a package, we'd be very happy to do so for you. Our key value proposition with those small distributed plants is speed to market. 15 days, 2 weeks. Packages are in the hands of our customers, custom printed. I saw some examples earlier of some labels which can get very, popular and get lost amongst the other competitors out there. But custom printed pouches to your specifications in 2 weeks. Very economical, significant reduction in handling costs and warehousing costs for packaging that might expire. With the regulations moving as fast as they do, some new labeling standard gets dictated in your particular country, and now all of that packaging you have is obsolete. Fast time to market, low minimum orders, and then the technology. So I can take one job that's ordered in Germany and I can produce it in the US and Canada. I can produce it where you might need it, and that goes for everyone. I can move that job around our kind of hive network of manufacturing facilities. So that's about as packaging centric as I want to get here today. We're a technology first company. Right? All of that technology that underlies what we produce was purpose built. We have HP Indigo presses, 55 of them around the world. We're Hewlett Packard's #1 customer in terms of size around the planet. And that's a product that is, and I'm going to keep going back to the sustainability aspect, that's a product that's carbon neutral when it rolls off the factory line. So everything from the inks that are used to the process of manufacturing these giant presses that help us produce this material, it was all done green first. We didn't have to invent a reason for us to lead with sustainability. We started that way, just like many of you have. Many of our customers are purpose-driven. They have passions. They have charities. They have causes. A small coffee company in the Pacific Northwest produces coffee, lovely, sell the coffee. On the package it says, tell us more, learn more about our coffee and our mission. I asked him, what is your mission? Well, we help rescue children from human trafficking rings in Tanzania. They were born with a purpose, and so were we. So, Mark, I'll let you run the show here.
Thanks, Ryan.
But thank you, everybody.
So I will introduce real quick the Pure. What is Pure? Pure is a stock operation. It's a holding. We have different daughter companies or subsidiaries. It all started with the Pure production 2016 when we first could introduce CBD flowers with less than 1% THC as a tobacco substitute in the Swiss market. This was our breakthrough. Back then, this was the golden times. Every Swiss person just wanted a package of these CBD flowers. Also, the quality back then of the CBD genetics weren't as stable as they're now. Nowadays, we have certain CBD genetics you couldn't even tell if CBD or THC or it's same. We went over then to Pure Gene, which is focusing on the whole genetic part, and I'm not talking just about pheno hunting and making new flavors or tastes. This is more than that. This is also fibers, this is food, this is AI-based molecular plant breeding. We know the DNA of every cannabis strains that we have in-house, and we know exactly which one to cross to breed together, that we can eventually produce your your wish seed or your wish genetic, whatever you want to do with it. Could be isolation materials for Ford automobile, isolation for car doors. It could be food. It could be genetics for medicinal purposes or recreative purposes. You name it. We also have Pure Pharma, which is one of our newest daughters, is focusing on the medicinal market of cannabis. We have Greenlee. This is the biggest cannabis wholesaler in Switzerland. And we have Blackstorm as well. This is our extraction specialist when it comes to dabs, wax, hashish, and every extract that you can think of. So what we are selling right now, PureGene is focusing, like I said, on the genetic plant base. So for example, this is very important for all the Modellregionen that is coming up. You know, for example, in Switzerland, a lot of people or a lot of study participants and the study leaders, they want like balanced ratios. They don't want only high THC ratios. They want some ratios that have maybe same percentage of CBD as THC. We also have like ratios that have double the amount of CBD than THC. For example, 6% THC and 12% CBD. My father tried it and he said it reminds him of the strains that he used back in the 60s because he cannot smoke the strong strains anymore. And in the study, for example, in the pilot projects, you don't only have young people that are used to Californian weed. You also have our oldest participant is 76-year-old lady and she cannot smoke any cannabis with 30% THC. It's just not good for her anymore. So she goes more on the balanced side, on the less psychedelic side of strains. What we are also doing is we're selling raw material, we're selling bulk and white labeling. We also have a lot of cosmetic and consumer products. Like I said before, we have all the tobacco substitutes, CBD flowers with less than 1% THC, which is also nice. In Germany, I think you're on 0.3, France is 0.2. So a lot of your flowers are being washed out or being treated, so you really are below that. But we have genetics to produce also below 0.3. We don't have to wash out anything, so we can also deliver other European markets. We also have the whole medicinal THC, and the newest baby in the whole show is we can deliver now recreational THC within these pilot projects in Switzerland.
Beautiful pouches there in the lower right.
Yeah. We come to this later. Yeah. So, like I said before, it all started 2016. We were the first company that actually had the idea, okay, let's use CBD flowers with less than 1% THC and declare it as a tobacco substitute because it has no nicotine in it. And the Federal Office of Public Health was like, yeah, it's a good idea, let's do it. And that's where it all started. We grow bigger and bigger, and now I guess we're around here, and I hope we'll be here soon, 2025. I think this is just my personal opinion. In 2025, we may be regulating in Switzerland, because then we already had some pilot projects. We already could generate some data, and I'm optimistic on that one. Here again, all the tobacco substitute products that we're selling in Switzerland. We have over 4,000 point of sales. We are also the first company that managed to produce CBD hashish. You see that in the middle. This was also a big challenge because you still have to be under 1% THC. And as you guys know, if you extract something from a cannabis plant, you will also concentrate up the cannabinoids. So you have to be smart there. Like I told before, we have all the cosmetic products. This is also always a bit of a game with the police. So back then we started selling it as food, but you know, all of us know that novel food is pretty strict, so we have to wait on that one. Maybe we'll talk later with some persons here that are involved in the whole process because I'm curious. We then declared as a chemical. It worked for a year as a Duftöl, like an aromatic oil, and after a year they said no, every aromatic oil has to have something in it that you have to vomit, so we have to cancel that way again. And then we thought, okay, let's do cosmetics, and now we declare it as mouth cosmetic, but it's written on the label that you have to spit it out again. It's just to wash your mouth officially, you know what I mean? So it's always a challenge. It's always a challenge with the authorities, and some of the products you have to balance. Is it really worth to have all that hustle for, you know, for how much you're selling it? You have to decide for yourself. But I hope that soon either novel food will get through, or just new studies are being made on cannabidiol that we can just use it freely, you know. Okay, so now the interesting part, the whole cannabis pilot projects, or Modellregion it's called in Germany. We are actually the first company in whole Europe that could now legally produce recreative THC within these pilot projects. The Netherlands also want to do these pilot projects. Germany will start hopefully next year. I heard some Bundesländer are super against it. The newest Eckpunktepapier got leaked, I think 2 weeks ago or so. I'm still wondering who leaked it all the time, but whatever. And we're all super curious on how it will look like, this new law, because until then I cannot really tell anything or do anything. But in Switzerland, it's clear. We started in the city of Basel with roughly 400 participants. We started in January. It's going on for 4 months now. The study participants, the ages from 18 to 76. We actually have a 76-year-old lady. She loves it. The study participants are consuming roughly about 20 grams of cannabis a month. So it's a market. It's a market. For sure, Basel is a small city. Zurich will come, Bern will come. In next year, every city in Switzerland will have a pilot project. So every consumer or stoner will have the chance to try to participate in one of the cities. So it's not a free market, but it's first step towards a regulated or a free market. Exactly. The reason why Pure is here, it was a no-brainer for all the authorities that we should produce the cannabis, is because we have Pure Gene. It's the 4th year that we could do research with THC cannabis and genetics. So what we could do is all the genetics that we had, some of them we produced ourselves, some of them came from California, Pakistan, you name it. We could test them all in different environments already. So we could test it indoor, greenhouse, we could test them outdoors, we could test it in a tunnel system, and now we know exactly which environment and which genetic I have to use to provide it for the pilot projects. So what are the requirements for the pilot projects? So each study participant can consume 10 grams of pure THC per month. For example, if you have a strain that has 20% THC, you can consume 50 grams. And to be honest, this is a lot. I don't know anybody who smokes 50 grams of cannabis a month, but I don't know. The maximum THC level is 20%, so you won't find a study product that has more than 20% THC. In my point of view, that's okay. There's some product like waxes and dabs and cartridges that are not interesting if you cannot go further than 20%, but we find our way around it. Of course, distribution to third parties, advertisement, consumption in public places is prohibited. You have to be over 18 years old, and you already have to be a cannabis consumer, because it would not be ethically correct to just give out cannabis to somebody that is not smoking it regularly anyway. So you go there to the study nurse and you have to do a urine test or a blood test, or some of them even do hair tests, that you really are a regular cannabis consumer. And of course you cannot have like any history of schizophrenia or psychedelic happenings in your life, that's for sure. Per study you can have up to 5,000 participants, so imagine you can have a lot of consumers here. This is a new market here. The duration of the study can go 5 years. You can prolong them for 2 years. Exactly, it must be all produced under the organic regulation. What does that mean? So you can forget indoor here. There's no indoor is not allowed here. You have to grow it in topsoil. It's possible to go outdoor or a greenhouse. I mean, you guys know that you can produce, if you have the right genetic, I can produce greenhouse, same quality as indoor. If you have a good greenhouse, it's all possible, but you cannot use artificial lights. You cannot grow in horse soil, so it all has to go down in the ground. And this is, for some companies, quite tricky. It's quite tricky also in terms of what kind of fertilizers you can use, how you can treat, or how your pest management is. You cannot use anything to kill your pests. You have to work with bio and organic. You have to work with Nützlinge and stuff like that, otherwise you will be fucked in the end. Sorry for my wording. So like I said, we started in Basel, roughly 400 participants. Zurich, I'm from Zurich, by the way. It's my city, so I'm super proud to be able to deliver my city with recreational cannabis. It's an honor for me. We have 2,100 participants here, so it gets bigger. Bern is starting in autumn this year with 1,091 participants. Biel and Luzern also is part of Bern, of this pilot project, and many are in the pipeline. So next year we will have 10 more, year after 10 more. So it's a new market, like I said. So I go one slide back. So this is actually where we at right now. There's some requirements that in the law for the pilot projects you have to provide on the packaging. For example, you cannot drive a car while under the influence, pipapo, you have to be older than 18. But other than that, the producer is responsible for the packaging. So I can do almost anything on the packaging. For sure, advertisement is not allowed, and the Federal Office of Public Health is the last instance who said, okay, the package is good now, or no, you have to change it. For example, you couldn't use maybe animal faces or something like that. It's not like in California, but it's not like in Canada where all the packages has to be plain and white. So we kind of had some marketing designy ideas that we could use to promote ourselves, and for us it was super important. It was not a requirement that it is childproof, the packaging. Only the edibles have to be childproof. Flowers hadn't had to be childproof. And also we want to do a serialization. This is just a wish from the police, because I had a smoke break and one of the highest police officers in Basel, he asked me, is it possible to do like every package has a different serialization that is linked to the study participant? So if the police, for example, in Basel find a child with this study packaging and he's smoking a joint, police can grab that, scan the QR code, send the QR code to the study leaders, and they see exactly, oh, Mr. Mark Brinkert purchased that package last week on Thursday, 10 o'clock. So I call him and ask him, how is this packaging going to this child? You know what I mean? So this is, and that's where I met Ryan actually, and he provided me all the solutions for that.
Yeah, so this is the fun part, right? This is giving every single pouch its own unique digital identity. Every single pouch. You want 20,000 pouches? There are 20,000 unique pieces of packaging, each one with its own identifiers that can be used for three main things. Consumer engagement. Consumer engagement can tell your story. It can build loyalty, play games. All right? Consumer engagement is the everyday interaction between a consumer and a product. But the next is tracking and tracing, and that's really at the core of what we're talking about here. Track and trace can tell a story, like this coffee was harvested in Mexico and processed in California and distributed in Denver, with all of those points along the map verified through blockchain. Well, the last is anti-counterfeiting. All right, by having a unique digital identifier, I can tell precisely the samples that I've got here. I can tell you which of ePac's network of printers produce that individual pouch. All right, so it makes it a lot more difficult for counterfeiters to copy your products. And once they do, and they will, it's a lot easier for us to work together to stop them. You know, in the U.S., CBD is nationally illegal. You can buy it in a gas station, and you'll go into any gas station and you'll see Skittles with an S and Skittles with a Z and Skittles with a W, and all of those products are just knocking each other off, and some of them can be very harmful. So what we do is with this digital identity, we can help bring consumer confidence to your end customer. They can tell that they're getting the real McCoy, the authentic product. Then, of course, connecting the regulatory bodies. So in the U.S., we've got certificates of analysis, COAs, detailed terpene profiles, obviously various degrees of THC and other elements, batch to batch, greenhouse to greenhouse, harvest to harvest. And we can help communicate to the consumer or to the authorities what the very specific certificate of analysis is for that bag. Not that batch, that bag. And that's the beauty of serialization. And it doesn't take us any more effort to produce that pouch. If you want 20,000 copies of the same pouch or 20,000 individual pouches, no difference to us. It's digital printing. It just kind of works. So, you can see what it's not your grandmother's QR code. And we can use other technologies besides QR codes like RFID or NFC. QR code is the most economical at this point for including in packaging and for being sustainable. You start to put metal elements in a pouch, and it becomes a lot more difficult to recycle. So that's how it all works. I give Mark a lot of credit for being a forward thinker. I mean, we've got 22 states in the U.S. Our second plant ever was in Colorado. So, the cannabis and hemp industry have been a big part of ePac's success over these several years. But learning from that, Canada has plain paper packaging rules. Rhode Island has plain paper packaging rules. Learning from that, adding child resistance, which is a no-brainer, I would assume a lot of people agree with, to keep these products out of the hands of those folks that shouldn't have it. It's actually pretty adult resistant too. So, good luck. I've got some samples of that back there as well.
The only bad feedback we got for the study participants is the packaging is too hard to open. But it did its job. It should be. It should be.
But then that back end technology, what can we do to help meet your regulatory compliance issues, or just engage more succinctly with your consumers? Teach them about the product. Teach them what you care about. You want to, promote the donation of blood to save the whales, whatever, right? You've all got different passions, and by serializing the packaging and creating these consumer experience, a package doesn't have to be just a static billboard anymore. It lives. You could change it from day to day to day, and the end consumer gets whatever your updated experience of the moment is. Right?
So once again, we have a lot of requirements in the pilot projects in Switzerland, and as we are the first one in Europe with this Modellregion or pilot projects, it's a bit all eyes on us. The whole cannabis industry is looking at us. Also, the authorities are looking at us, so we cannot allow any fault, because now we have to prove everybody that the cannabis people, they can do that job. They can produce high quality standards, safe products for the customers, and stand all the requirements. So this image should just give you a quick overview on all the countries that we are talking right now and are in consideration, and also maybe planning on these pilot projects, because as I said, we have some know-how that we could gather over the last year in terms of these pilot projects. We build up the whole value chain from zero. Also, the whole quality management is pretty strict here. It's not quite as high as for medicinal cannabis, but it's also everything is like the pharmacopée, the European pharmacopée standards. So yeah, you have to be careful here. Also, for example, for the bacteria count, I mean, if you grow indoors, even a lot of people that grow indoors have to treat the cannabis for medicinal cannabis afterwards. There's different methods like e-beam, or you can use radiation, or you can use this biosterilization but matter of fact is in Canada still like 2/3 of all the produced cannabis is being thrown away because it just has too many bacteria. And imagine now having to grow it in a greenhouse and outdoors and still have these requirements. It's a hard job. So yeah, we did our learnings here for sure. Why I'm also super glad to be here now, because we're in Frankfurt, so we're in Germany. There's just some points where we could help companies in Germany that are planning to also be a part of this Modellregion. For example, if you need genetics, if you need seeds, and I'm not talking just about like the Californian stuff. Everybody can get that. Everybody can get cookies and stuff like this. But I'm talking about strains that actually are able to be grown in Germany, for example, outdoors or in a greenhouse, not only indoors with artificial lights. And we tested all these strains already for like the climate that you have in Germany. So you can just talk to us. We can find a way. Also, we have like a big cutting production. We can distribute it. And we can also talk about the collaboration, for example, for producing these flowers. And yeah, let's talk about it. We have a lot of know-how here.
Yeah. Imagine what this map's going to look like in 2 years, right? We had our gold rush in the U.S., right, where folks were vacationing to very specific places just because of the availability of recreational cannabis. Um, but we see a lot of contraction now. We see mergers and acquisitions turning little tiny companies into great big companies. Luckily, our market is still fractured by at least the geographical boundaries of a state. So, California is different than Colorado, is different than Oklahoma. And that does help smaller producers survive in this environment. But consolidation and mergers will continue to affect the U.S. market. I see here in Europe, the gold rush coming. You will have the opportunity, hopefully, to learn from all of our mistakes in the regulatory side of the business. But we'll be here for you throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to add, for example, for all these countries that you see, so Switzerland is pretty pragmatic, as you know, us prude Swiss guys. We try to set the rules first before we play. So we're not Thailand that just regulated overnight. So what Switzerland is doing now with the pilot project is they said, okay, let's check it in like studies, scientific studies with like limited regulations, and let's see how it works out. And if we do a good job here, then maybe in 2 or 3 years, they will say, hey, the cannabis industry is ready. People are smoking cannabis anyway. Prohibition has failed, so let's regulate it. And then I guess we'll have the gold rush. So just, I see that we already are on 29 minutes, and I just go quickly to Pure Gene. A colleague of mine will have a talk on that later at 3 p.m. also in the conference here, but in a remote presentation, so I won't talk about it a lot. I just want to show you that picture to see a bit what Pure Gene is doing. You see here corn that we could legally breed over since the humanity exists, and you see that over the last 100 years we could breed corn, and now it's from this small stick thing, it's becoming this. So it has like 6 times more the efficiency because we could breed it. We used GMO, we used different technologies. Back in the days it was the Green Revolution, and cannabis is prohibited, so we lost all the cannabis breeding. I mean, imagine if cannabis wouldn't be prohibited and we could have just breeded normally like corn or wheat. What would have been? Maybe I wouldn't even be here and talk right now because it would be all legal and it will all be figured out, but still I'm here and we failed. So what PureGene is doing, PureGene is trying to fill that gap that we lost because of prohibition with AI-driven molecular plant breeding. It's a bit complicated. It's all with DNA. It's no GMO. It's normal female and male plant together, but because we know exactly which DNA we have to put together and which genes and which traits are dominant, we know exactly which plants that we have to combine to then make it more efficient in terms of whatever you want, more potent, violet color, long fibers, whatever you want for each application of the cannabis plant. So this is just like a general picture of what we're doing in Pure Gene. Exactly, we were the first one to have recreational THC genetics in Switzerland. We have the first cannabis super pangenome. Super pangenome is like the whole DNA sequence of the whole cannabis, every strain. We know the DNA of every cannabis strain that is existing, and it's the 5th pangenome after corn, wheat, soy, and rice that ever existed. There's no other pangenome for other plants than these 5. And we were the first one to do it for cannabis. We have also the world's largest strain diversity and database. We have over 20,000 strains that we know the DNA of. So we have genetics from every part of the world, and we could already detect 350 markers that we also patented. The marker is like a section on a DNA that is linked to a trait. For example, we know exactly, that part of the DNA is responsible that the flower is producing violet pistils, or the flower is producing so much THC, or the flower gets bushy and it's not getting high. So we linked all these markers. We know exactly how to combine these. It's like a Lego puzzle, and then we can give you your wish genetic for whatever you want to do for. And we also patenting it, so you can actually, it's not back in the days where everybody can just call it sour diesel. This smells a bit like diesel. Okay, it's a sour diesel, but it has nothing to do with the original sour diesel. But once you patent it at the DNA, nobody can copy you anymore. Yeah, I guess that's all. Here I want to show you again the nice pictures that ePac and we did together. These are the 6 study products that we have for the study in Basel. You know, you see the potency, you see all the cannabinoid contents, you see the terpenes, but you can scan the QR code. You go to a website, you see all the COAs. You can also give us feedback of the study participants, so I can have some exchange and optimize it all. And you see all the terps and percentages, how many terps in whole flower, all the cannabinoids that you see. This is just a general small summary. Yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot. And if you're interested in Pure Gene, go and hear my colleague Gavin George. He's the CEO of Pure Gene, and he will talk at 3 p.m. today. Thanks a lot.